With the recording. Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Shirley Hernandez. I'm a work-based learning coordinator for MDUSD, and today we have Micheal Kean, who will be talking to you guys about the PTEC program at LMC. So I'll go ahead and send it over to you.
Hello everyone. As Shirley said, my name is Micheal Kean, and I'll be talking about both process technology and electrical and instrumentation technology today. And I encourage you at any time to ask me a question, or if you would rather put it in the chat, somebody will tell me the questions in the chat, but don't feel like you have to wait till the very end. So I start every presentation by reminding students that safety is our #1 priority in our industry. It's a core element of everything that we do. It's embedded in our educational programs and materials, and our graduates begin their career with a strong safety mindset. So this is me. I joined the faculty in 2018. That was after a 32-year career at Dow Chemical in Pittsburgh. For those of you who have taken Highway 4 towards the Delta, you can see Dow Chemical from the freeway. It's kind of right behind Home Depot. I'm a member of the American Institute of Chemical Engineers. That's our professional society, and I attend meetings and stuff there. I attended the University of Michigan, go Blue. I'm very glad Jim Harbaugh is our coach, and I got a Bachelor's of Science in Chemical Engineering. And I'm also a registered professional engineer in California. So that means I have a license to be an engineer. And here's how you can get a hold of me. So you guys will be finishing high school soon. So what's next? Well, you could go take a full-time job. You could continue your education, which is what we're going to talk about today. You could do work in school, and many students actually do work in school. Or you could do something else. So how much money are you going to make over the next 20 years? Well, let's start out. There's many, many exceptions to this rule. But if you start right away, odds are over the next 20 years, you'll make $750,000. Wow, that's a lot of money, but that's over 20 years. You'll avoid college expense, but you'll typically have the lowest lifetime earnings. Now, many exceptions to this rule. There's many millionaires and not millionaires, but let's say you do community college, which is what I'm talking about today. Well, you're not going to make as much money for the first couple of years as this flat part of the blue line shows, but 20 years down the road, you may have made well over $1 million in your life. That's right, $1 million over 20 years. So getting a vocational education and starting to work right away is a pretty good career path. It's inexpensive. You avoid the college debt. You'll earn a decent income right away. Now, I did the 4-year college degree program, and I went into debt. I had big student loans, but this is about right. You know, I've made millions of dollars in my lifetime. That's a pretty good thing. But I had a lot of college expense and a lot of student loans, but I had a higher lifetime income. But we're going to be talking about community college today. Oh, you could be self-taught. It worked for Bill Gates. He's the guy in charge of Microsoft. He's a multi-hundred millionaire. Works for some people. You could do the 4-year bachelor's degree. This is a great option for many people, but it's a big investment in time, money, and learning. It is the path I chose. But I'm here today to talk about community colleges because it's a great vocational option. It's way faster and it's way less expensive. So at Los Medanos, we have an auto program. We have welding. We have EMS, emergency medical system. In other words, being an EMT technician, fire, construction program, a drone program. ETEC and PTEC is what I'm talking about today. ETEC is electrical and instrumentation, and PTEC is manufacturing operations and operating technicians. So those are what I'm talking about today. Well, we also recently added logistics and fork truck. We have numerous local employers. Here's just a smattering of them. These people work closely with us, and I'll be talking about internships and co-ops. co-op programs throughout the presentation. So these are some of the places that you might work. As you probably are well aware, the San Francisco Bay Area has a lot of job opportunities available. Let's play this little video. It's only about 2.5 minutes long.
What is the Process Technology or PTEC program at LMC? PTEC covers managing and operating equipment and systems used in chemical and oil refining, pharmaceutical, biotech, and other advanced manufacturing technologies. Students learn about systems such as refrigeration, distillation, reactors, and many others. LMC's PTEC facilities include hands-on training for pumps, piping, heat exchangers, valving, and working with tools. There's a huge need for employees in these high-tech advanced manufacturing industries. LMC prepares students to be well-rounded and ready to be hired and begin work immediately. PTEC graduates have a competitive edge due to their familiarity with equipment, computer control systems, and industrial safety. Competitive internships are available. Job placement assistance such as job fairs, resume writing, practice interviews, and a job board are all included with the program. The PTEC curriculum was designed by industry for industry. PTEC courses are taught by instructors who work in the petrochemical industry or are retired from the industry. The program is a mixture of hands-on activities, site visits, and classroom instruction. What are some common entry-level jobs for PTEC graduates? Logistics, working at a tank farm or shipping facility, sampling, loading, unloading trucks and rail cars. Laboratory, collect samples, operate laboratory equipment. Operations, monitor operations, operate equipment. Public water utilities, monitor water quality and process variables, fix and repair equipment. Power plant operator, monitor electric grid, keep equipment in good working order. Pharmaceuticals and biotech, work in a clean room environment, operate high-tech equipment. Starting wages are $50,000 to $70,000 per year, with the potential of $100,000 per year with overtime and shift work. The LMC PTEC program is an 18-month full-time program. Part-time takes longer. When you complete the program, you'll either earn a Certificate of Achievement with 35 units, or an Associate of Science degree with 60 units. The expected cost of the program are as follows. Tuition is $46 per unit, and books are about $125 per class. The certificate total cost is approximately $3,000. The associate degree total cost is approximately $4,500, and financial aid is available. Learn more by going to www.losmedanos.edu/departments/PTEC.
All right, how's that video? I hope you guys were able to see it okay and all that. Let's keep on going. And by the way, if at any point you have questions, feel free to ask. So yeah, as the video pointed out, many entry-level positions are in logistics. You've probably seen at the gas station, there's usually 1 or 2 gas trucks that come by each day. At the farms, they got to fill up milk trailers. At the chemical plants, they're filling up tank trucks every day. That's a very common entry-level position to work in the filling department. It involves sampling, loading and unloading, hooking up rail cars and trucks, and also driving empty trailers around the yard. Another big entry-level position is in the laboratory, collecting samples. For example, the water treatment plant has to sample the water very frequently because that's the water that's going out for people to drink and shower and cook with. So you have to take a lot of samples to make sure that it's clean and safe. Operations is a big part of what we do. Most facilities have control rooms with lots of monitor screens like you see here, and technicians have to monitor the process, make sure that temperatures, pressures, and flow rates are okay, and take samples and change set points based on the samples. So if you're trying to produce white paint and it's coming out with a tint of gray, you might have to make some set point changes so that your white paint remains white. If you're at the refinery and you're supposed to be making 87 octane for regular gas and it's coming out 88 octane, you're going to have to make a few changes, temperatures, pressures, flow rates to get the gas back to 87 octane. Public water utilities. Hey, everybody took a shower this morning, I'm guessing, and had some water, wash your hands and so on, and everybody uses the toilet and flushes. So there's always going to be plenty of jobs in the public water utilities. We work with JVS that represents Bayworks. That's a consortium of close to 40. That's right, 40 water utilities in the San Francisco Bay Area. And we have programs set up with those guys. And power plant. Thanks PG&E, they're supplying the electricity for the internet to keep working, for you guys, for your lights at home and so on. There are actually, in addition to PG&E, there's about a dozen companies that provide supplemental electricity in the summer. So when it's 110 degrees Fahrenheit in August and everyone has their AC turned on, these other power plants kick in. They pay good money as well. You have to monitor the grid and keep the equipment in good working order. A new and upcoming area is pharmaceuticals and biotech. So most people are probably familiar with Emeryville, right by the Oakland Bay Bridge. There are a lot of companies up there, Genentech, Biorad, to name a few. Some of you guys may have gotten your shot. I got both of my shots, and I'm sure I got the Pfizer shot, and I'm sure someone around here made some of the ingredients that went into that Pfizer shot. Good, high-paying jobs. Okay, so how does this work? Well, let's say like you guys are totally fired up and think this is a great program. You might want to consider in the summer term taking our Intro to Trades and Technology course, and I'll get your counselors more information about that. But we have 1 week on auto mechanics, 1 week on welding, 1 week on electrical, and 1 week on process technology. It's a great intro course. But in your first term, we would recommend you take these 5 classes, 7, 10, 12, 9, and 15. 7 is career skills, how to work with other people, how to get along with them. PTEC 10 is your basic intro class. PTEC 12 is health and safety. PTEC 9 is, we call it contextualized math. So it's kind of like algebra, but we go over the equations that a process technician might be expected to use and understand on a day-to-day basis in that context. So it's all questions related to industry, and we have introductory physics. Then in your second term, you take an instrument class, PTEC 24, and a chem lab class 27. PTEC 25 is equipment, pumps, valves, that sort of thing. PTEC 35 is reactors, distillation columns, that sort of thing. This is introductory chemistry for PTEC students, and you might take some electives. And then in your third term, you might take PTEC 44, 45, and 48, which is operations, simulation, and troubleshooting. Gives you exposure to how things would work at a refinery or a power plant or an advanced manufacturing plant. PTEC 60 is how to write a resume and do an interview. So we prepare you to get a job in any electives. Most students attend part-time. You can work during the day, and these classes are mostly offered at night. Here's a list of the courses in case you couldn't remember what I said as I was saying it. So if you were going to start this program in fall of 21, which is coming up, because I assume many of you are going to graduate this May, but if you were going to graduate in May of 22, just add a year to all these. You'd start out taking these courses this term, then in the spring. In the summer, we hope our internship program will be back to normal. It was obviously affected by COVID. A lot of places that were offering internships kind of pulled back on that for COVID related reasons, but we expect to be offering lots of really good and competitive and well-paying internships in the summer of 22. And then in the fall, you'd finish up and take your electives. So again, if you start in August of 2021, you could graduate in December of 2022. Or you could go part-time. If you started this August in fall of 21, you could spread your classes out and only basically take half as many in a term, and you could be graduating sometime in May of 2025. I'm sorry, that should be a 24 over. No, that's 25. Or if you decide you want to start in January, many students want to take a few months off before jumping into college. We have that program as well. So this just kind of lays out what courses you might take and when you might take them. And courses have to be taken in a certain order. So ideally, we want students to take the courses with the blue backgrounds in their first term, and then the courses in the green background in their second term, and the purple backgrounds in their third term. We found that enforcing that students take classes in the correct order makes a lot of sense. For example, you wouldn't take calculus if you hadn't taken geometry and algebra. So same kind of concept here. This is a shift work industry. It's not Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Manufacturing facilities operate around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that means you should expect to do shift work if you're in this industry. And different companies have different schedules, but 4 days on, 2 days off is pretty common. You'll work 4 12-hour days, get 2 days off, work 4 12-hour nights and get 6 days off. 4 on, 2 off, 4 on, 6 off, 4 on, 2 off, 4 on, 6 off, switching back and forth between days and nights. There's numerous variations of this. Any questions on PTEC before I move on to ETEC? Okay, so ETEC is electrical and instrumentation technology. What are some of the differences? Well, a process technician would monitor equipment, would operate valves, do loading and offloading, take lab samples. They could start and shut down processes and probably work shift work. But an ETEC technician is going to be involved in maintaining equipment. They're going to be fixing things that are broken. They're going to be doing troubleshooting and repair. They'll come out with volt ohm meters and take readings and oscilloscopes and other types of readings. They'll work with engineers to install or design new equipment. The engineer might be like, hey, we need a flow meter, and the instrument guy could help the engineer pick it out. They do some work on chemical analyzers. Sure, the lab technician takes samples, but these analyzers are complex pieces of equipment that need repair. And they typically work a day shift type schedule. A lot of times they'll work 10-hour days. So they'll work Monday through Thursday, 10 hours a day. Some places are even 12 hours. You might work 3 12-hour shifts in a week. It's a lot of similar employers to the ones you saw for PTEC. I've listed a bunch of them here. You know, obviously PG&E hires a lot of people. Tesla, we've recently reestablished our working relationship with Tesla, and they hire a lot of our graduates now from LMC. POSCO is a big one. They're the steel mill right across from Dow Chemical. The water plants are a big one. Water plants have a lot of instruments that need repair. So yeah, those are some of the main employers. So what are some entry-level jobs? Big one is being an electrician, doing 120 volt wiring. Not just anyone's allowed to go and wire things up. And if you don't do it correctly, you're going to short equipment out, damage and fires. A lot of instrument technicians. An instrument technician will install, calibrate, and fix instruments and assist the engineer in designing and specifying them. That's really, instruments are at the heart of any operation. If your temperature gauge is reading the wrong temperature, if your pressure gauge is reading the wrong pressure, you can't operate your facility safely. And instrument techs fix that. There's a lot of high voltage technicians. You've probably driven past on the freeway and seen those electrical substations with all the transformers. And all that stuff's at high voltage, and it requires special safety training and special operating procedures to work on that equipment without getting electrocuted. Electric motor repair is a big thing. In our industry, we don't throw things away if they're broken and buy new ones. We tend to fix stuff because motors are expensive. And oftentimes, if you disassemble it, it's an easy repair and you can save a considerable amount of money. So doing electric motor repair and servicing is a big industry. Installing motor control centers, lots of wiring involved, lots of reading wiring diagrams so you can hook the wires up correctly. And also high voltage switchgear. You've seen those guys from PG&E and the bucket trucks up working on the insulators on the high voltage lines and doing maintenance and repair and configuring and installing switchgear. Some common jobs. A lot of ETEC grads will do instrument calibration. So, you know, when you fill your car up with gas, you pretty much trust that the gas pump is pumping out the right number of gallons of gas. And when you go to the grocery store and weigh your groceries, you expect that the weight on the sensor is telling you the correct weight for your produce, so you're not getting over or undercharged. So making sure that instruments are properly calibrated is a big field, and a lot of our techs do that. Many of our technicians learn how to do PLC programming, programmable logic controllers. This is to turn equipment on and to turn it off. You know, an example of something that you might do in a PLC language is shut a motor off if the amps are too high or if the motor's too hot to prevent it from burning up. And we also repair valves. So we take them apart, clean them, put them back together and reinstall them. Those are some common tasks. Let's check out the ETEC video.
What is the Electrical and Instrument Technology program, also known as ETEC, at Los Medanos College? ETEC covers managing, troubleshooting, and repair of electrical equipment and instrumentation systems used in chemical and oil refining, pharmaceutical, biotech, and other manufacturing technologies. Students learn electric power distribution, electric motors, high voltage systems, and many others. Students also learn how to specify, install, and maintain instruments used in industry to measure pressure, temperature, flow, and other important process conditions. LMC's ETEC facilities include hands-on training for electric motor installation, electric wiring, installation and calibration, and working with common electrical tools. There is a huge need for employees in these high-tech advanced manufacturing industries. LMC prepares students to be well-rounded and ready to be hired and begin work immediately. ETEC graduates have a competitive edge due to their familiarity with equipment, computer control systems, and industrial safety. Through connections with ETEC faculty, many students are able to find summer internships, job placement assistance such as job fairs, resume writing, practice interviews, and a job board are all included with the program. The ETEC curriculum was designed by industry for industry. ETEC courses are taught by instructors who work in the petrochemical industry or are retired from the industry. The program is a mixture of hands-on activities, site visits, and classroom instruction. What are some common entry-level jobs for ETEC graduates? Work as an electrician on 120-volt AC electrical systems or wiring. As an instrument technician, installing, calibrating, fixing, and servicing instruments, and assisting engineers in design and specification. As a high voltage technician, monitoring operations and operating equipment. Here are some tasks that are performed on the job for ETEC graduates: performing electric motor repair, general installation and servicing, and installing new equipment in a motor control center. High voltage electric switchgear, installing, maintaining, and troubleshooting, and assisting engineers in design and specification. Program PLCs, programmable logic controllers, performing instrument calibration and configuring. Starting wages are in the $60,000 per year range and up to $100,000 per year. The LMC ETEC program is a 24-month full-time program. Part-time takes longer. When you complete the program, you'll earn either a Certificate of Achievement with 42 to 45 units or an Associate of Science degree with 60 units. The expected costs of the program are as follows. Tuition is $46 per unit, and books are about $125 per class. The certificate total cost is approximately $3,000. The associated degree total cost is approximately $4,500. Financial aid is available. Learn more by going to www.losmedanos.edu/departments/ETEC.
All right. No Academy Awards, but I think it gets the point across pretty well. And there's another video, but in the interest of time, we'll skip that for now. So the ETEC overall academic plan, the first 3 terms are kind of the same, but you could get a specialization as either an electrician or an instrument. So we start out with math in the first term, because there is a lot of math involved in electronics. You have to be able to deal with resistors, capacitors, transformers, inductors, and we teach the math associated with all that. So I don't want to sugarcoat it, but I don't want to scare anyone off. As I have a slide coming up, the math's not that hard, but there is math involved. So we start out with DC, direct current circuits. That's like with batteries, provide direct current and alternating currents in the second half. We talk about motor controls. Big motors, you don't just start them and stop them. There's a lot of electronic circuitry involved to make sure you don't burn a motor up. We go over semiconductor devices like transistors, diodes, rectifiers, and so on, and digital devices, on-off switch in the second half of the second term. We have a course on PLCs, programmable logic controllers, instrument and process measurement, and the instrument calibration lab in our third term. Then students get to decide, do they want to go for the electrical specialization where they would do a lot of wiring, installing motors, installing transformers, that sort of thing? Or do they want to specialize in instrumentation, working on flow meters, level transmitters, and so on? Many students do both. It takes longer to do both, but they find it's pretty valuable. But some students may have an in at a certain industry for one or other of one of these 2 specializations, and they may only choose to do one. So if you were to start this in fall of 21 on our evening track, we would recommend that you take these courses, ETEC 9, 10, and 12 your first term, then 20, 22 your second term. Maybe take physics and chemistry over the summer, kind of get those out of the way. And then you could finish up with your basic instrument classes and your instrument specialization, or you could substitute the 50s with the 40s. So you can do this in 2 years. If you start in August of 2021, when some of you graduate, or if you're juniors, just add a year to all this. You could be graduating in May of 23 if you apply yourself full time. And if you do it in the morning track, it would look a little bit different. So we have an evening track that starts in the fall and a morning track that starts in the spring. So as the names imply, the morning classes are in the morning. And the evening classes are in the evening, more for working people. And you can do a part-time program and it'll just take longer. So this is first term, second term, third term, and fourth term. So if you started in summer of 21, you would probably begin work in spring of 24. Just takes a little longer to go part-time, but it can definitely be done. So ETEC math, the technicians do use a lot of math. They do typical calculations might be how much current is in a circuit and what size wire would you use. So you wouldn't put 100 amps through a skinny wire, it would burn up. And what would the voltage drop be in a 1,000 foot long power supply? So you probably don't think about it in your house because you don't have 1,000 foot long extension cords. But if you did, you wouldn't get 120 volts out the other end. You might get 100. That wouldn't be necessarily very good. How much heat is going to be generated by the equipment? That's, an important consideration. Almost everything gets hot, and the hotter it gets, the more cooling you need, the bigger air conditioning systems you need. So you need to be able to calculate that. You need to know what size starters to get for a 50 horsepower motor. That would be figuring out how much current does the motor require when it's starting up. What would the trip points be for high volts, high amps, etc. How much current should an air conditioning unit be drawing? So if something's wrong with the AC unit, you can definitely go out and look at how many amps it's drawing by putting on an amp meter. But is that high or low? How would you know? So you have to be able to figure that out. And you have to be able to select resistors and capacitors out of a parts bin. And you have to deal with the metric system, which is way easier, I got to admit. So high school algebra is a must. You got to have that. But there is software available to help with the more complicated problems. So don't let me scare you off. The math isn't as hard as you might think, but there is math involved. All right, so now I'm going to kind of open it up for questions and kind of flip through a bunch of pictures as we're going along. And I'll be describing the pictures, but feel free to interrupt at any time to ask me questions. These are some of our PTEC facilities. We have cutaway equipment, so you can see what's inside of valves, pumps, heat exchangers, and so on. So for example, they slice this check valve in half. Now you can see how the internal mechanisms operate. Valves taken apart. We have simulators in our classroom. So this is kind of typical of what you might be seeing if you were a technician in a control room in a refinery or an electric plant. You'd have to be able to work with these simulations and monitor them. We do hands-on work on our labs. We pump water around in these systems, so you really can't do any harm besides getting your clothes wet. But it's really good to be able to learn how to configure valves and set instrumentation. We have a steam boiler that you can run to make steam. A little bit of a close-up of it. We have centrifugal pumps and they're cutaways, so you get to see the internal parts and how they work. We have a pumping station where we study the effect of using skinny pipes, wide pipes, pipes with lots of bends and arrows. So you guys are in auto, you probably know like if your muffler piping has a lot of bends and elbows in it, it causes a lot of back pressure, and we study that effect. It's a similar thing. We do some engineering drawings. What's the volume of this tank? What's the volume of this cylinder? Calibrate this rotometer. Typical things we have the students do. We do practice line openings. So in a refinery, there might be a need to break open a flange to replace a section of piping. There's no chemicals in this, so you get to learn how to do this safely. We have a mixing lab with a lot of different kinds of mixing blades where we study the effect of mixing. We have a cool distillation demonstrator. So distillation columns are made of metal, obviously, and you can't see what's going inside of them. These are acrylic, and you can see in them really well. We have several continuous indoor distillations, and I got this picture from the 1970s, thank you. We have students assemble some backflow prevention devices. We do experiments to measure the pressure generated as you fill a long, tall pipe up with water. It gives us a chance to practice with radios and do it in the dark using flashlights. We have some controllers that our students learn how to operate. An indoor cooling tower. We have an outdoor lab where students get to work outdoor lab equipment. Here are some technicians in action. These are real people working in real facilities. So let's see, there's exactly 0 questions in the chat box. That either means I've done an awesome job of explaining everything, or like everyone's like, oh, it's Thursday morning, I don't really feel like asking a question. So how are we doing, guys? Any questions?
I have 2 that were privately sent to me.
Okay.
What qualifications do students who recently graduated from high school need to join want to join either the PTEC or ETEC program?
So both are open to everyone. There's no pre-qualifications. There are some like basic, you have to have some basic things like a high school degree and complete your basic math and English, but you don't have to take an entrance exam if that's the gist of the question. However, when you meet with a counselor, you do a self-evaluation. And like if you just took fractions and you never took geometry or algebra, they might counsel you to do some remedial education, remedial math classes, or remedial English and science before moving ahead. But you don't have to. And our math, chemistry, and physics classes are not the same as the general education ones. Like students going to UC and CSU colleges will take chemistry and physics, the regular ones, but we have our own in our program that's tailored towards PTEC students. And we really focus more on the industrial applications and things you need to know. Did that answer the student's question?
Yes, just jumping off of that, are there any maybe internships or just anything that you recommend students to do before heading to these two programs?
Oh, yeah, well, okay, the question is, what should you do first? Well, I would highly recommend our Introduction to Trades and Technology course. That's a 6-week, 4 or 5 week course over the summer, 1 week on welding, 1 week on auto, 1 week on PTEC, ETEC. That gives you a nice introduction to what all these industries are about. And you guys are in auto, you may be thinking, hey, that's what I want to do, but you might find, hey, I want to be a welder, or I want to be an electrician. So that's a pretty nice course to take. If you have a chance to visit a friend, relative, or colleague who works at an industrial facility and have them give you a private tour, like maybe your dad works at the power plant. Hey, Dad, can I come visit you at work today? That'd be kind of cool. And if you know that you're interested in certain companies, and we teach this as part of the program, but you want to visit their websites and learn about the company and find out, what are some of the unique things that the company has to offer, so that you're more well-versed at it. Also in August, we will be hopefully doing on-campus open houses. So, it seems like the COVID thing is clearing. It's beyond I can't like ring the all clear bell. If I could, I would, but hopefully in August, we'll be having on-campus open houses. I'm sure your counselors will get the information, so be on the lookout for that. But we'll be doing a bunch of them. Did that answer the student's question?
Yes. Does financial aid apply, or does this all get paid out of pocket?
Oh, so it's the typical financial aid rule program. So like there's the someone else pays your tuition program if you maintain a C average, if you're a brand new student. So essentially it's a tuition at no cost to you, paid by others. But like tuition is like $50 a credit and $100 or so a term for books. It's not super expensive, but there's tons of financial aid available. And we'll be hosts at our open houses and in summertime online information sessions. We have counselors available who are really good with the financial aid. My high level takeaway is if you're a graduating senior, you can basically go to community college for very little cost, as long as you keep 12 credits and maintain a C average. But speak to your counselors about the detail.
Another question we had is, do students find jobs really quickly right after this program?
Some do, some don't. So look, it's similar to the NFL draft, right? I mean, the first, second, third round guys, a lot of those guys get drafted right away, but there are some guys that don't get drafted right away, and they might be walk-ons a few months later. The majority of our students do get jobs pretty much right when they graduate. And one of the reasons is we have a whole host of employer information sessions. Now they're all based on Zoom, but we're going to go back to doing them in person. We've had PG&E, we've had Tesla, we've had Hobart, Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, Dow Chemical, Corteva, maybe I mentioned PG&E and a whole bunch of others. They come on campus for job fairs, and these are like private job fairs just for LMC vocational students. So, I mean, if you got a decent grades and you apply yourself and you present yourself well at the interviews, you're likely to get a job of your choice because you've presented yourself as a qualified candidate. Just joining our program and taking the classes isn't enough. You have to commit to process safety. You have to commit to developing good study habits, completing your homework, coming to class on time, good attendance. But those are the things that employers are looking for. So if you do all that stuff, you're likely to get a job right away. But not everyone who plays on a college football team is guaranteed a job in the NFL. Not everyone who's in an acting program is guaranteed a job on Broadway, right? Not everyone in the English class is guaranteed a job with a newspaper as a reporter. But those students who differentiate themselves through hard work and focus and commitment and a commitment to safety are usually going to find jobs. How's that answer?
It's great. I know you touched on a little bit about the summer internships that you guys give out to students. Is that students are looking for those internships, or you guys already have these hosts for them?
Oh, so the college does not hire anyone. Let me make that very clear. But we work with lots of local companies, and they offer internships to Los Medanos PTEC and ETEC students only. So, I mean, they'll open up their internships. If no one accepts it, I guess they could open it up to anyone. But they have to choose you. It's a competitive internship. It's like going on a job interview, and if you impress the interviewers, they'll hire you for the summer. And that's a great way to decide, hey, do I really like this company? And do I want to work here for the next 30 years? Because you'll find out over a 6 to 10 week summer program whether this is the right industry for you or whether you ought to be making some other choice. And look, it's only a 6 to 10 week commitment. So even if 99% of our students love their internships and go on to work for that company for a long time, but there are some that just decided, hey, you know, this really isn't what I wanted to do, and they go off and do something else.
And I think this will be our last. If you have any advice for our graduating seniors who are thinking about going into this program or just anything to do.
Absolutely. Commit to process safety is number one. Number two, develop good study and academic habits. When you come to college, you're expected to get your work done, because when you get a job, you're expected to come to work every day, clean and sober, ready to work. You're given assignments at work, and you're expected to complete them, do them well, and do them on time. You know, in high school and to a certain extent in college, you know, your teacher might let you turn in an assignment late. But in the work world, turning an assignment late kind of rolls into losing a sale, losing some income. And that's just not how it works in industry. So get yourself ready for good study habits, good self-discipline, but process safety, that's the most important thing. I will say one more thing. Get a job, even if it's at McDonald's, because an employer would rather hire someone who has shown a consistent work history. Like if you can show that you've had a job for 2 years in a row without getting fired, that's a good sign. It doesn't matter if the industry is totally unrelated to what you're doing. If you can show, you know, steady employment, but if you got a month here, a month off, a month there, a month off, it's going to raise warning bells. So try to find a job and stick with it.
Well, thank you so much on behalf of MDUSD and Greg and all the staff here. We thank you so much, Michael, for coming to speak to our students. We really appreciate the opportunity that you gave to our students today. Thank you so much.
Everyone have a safe day. You're welcome.